Sheena's face remained expressionless as the words she had just heard reverberated in her ears. Your husband has become a martyr. He was killed last night at the LOC. It bore the same stillness that the house was in before the tolling of the bells. The words Sheena had just heard swept the ground off her feet, and all she did was fix her eyes to the ground. The news that she had been dreading from the time she decided to marry a soldier had finally arrived. It was a piece of information that was soon going to alter the reality of her life as the widow of a martyr. Her infant would grow up without ever having seen his father. The picture that his mind would paint of his father would only depict him as a proud son of his land, a soldier who put his nation above everything else, a martyr who laid down his life to protect the dignity of his country's soil, and a proud husband who let his loyalty and commitment to his duties precede him.
At Wuhan. Nana looks back. In the near distance, each rail looks straight and independent. The further they go, the curlier they become, until they intertwine with each other thoroughly. Then the rails become several dots at the horizon. How canny they are, Nana thinks. Far from people's surveillance, they go the way they want. Her phone is ringing again. She lets it ring for a long time, until the light of the screen dims again. Miss, your phone is ringing. A little girl wearing a face mask pats her hand gently. Thank you, that's my alarm clock. Nana stands in front of the gate of Wuhan Station and confronts the cold wind alone. She flinches. Someone hugs her from behind. A stream of warmth blows in her ear. She trembles a bit. Why don't you answer the phone? It's so cold here. Tom speaks like a child who is asking his mother for candy. What? Did you call me? Why didn't I hear it? Nana turns around with a suspicious and peevish look, like a mother irritated by a child's silly demands. But I did call you. It's so cold here. Tom leaves Nana and walks away. He just wants to go back to his warm car. Hey. Tom turns around. Nana hands him a delicate bag. I didn't respond to you because I was busy picking a gift for you.
I arrived at the British Museum in the early morning. A long queue of people were waiting in the street in the first hours of the day. The dawn had faded, but it still held the fresh air of morning. The pilgrimage continued, and the people kept arriving from bars, restaurants, and shops. As usual in places like this, there were many shops with souvenirs, a cliché specific to any similar spots the world over. There was a long queue for obvious reasons. The magical temple attracted an ocean of people and there were security checks taking place. There were also many guides, but nobody complained, and I do not think that anybody felt the stress of waiting. The people talked in Babylonian, looking at each other and charging the stream with positive energy. The children jumped and clamored. The shadow of death was shaking. This was the celebration of our humanity. Once inside, I was in the large entrance hall. Without a guide and without a plan and prior preparation, I just started to wander from one place to another, from one floor to another, gazing at everything, sometimes stopping longer and trying to go inside a painting or to visualize a scene of deadly fighting in front of a samurai sword.
They came wearing neat suits and wide smiles. They filled our ears with promises and our minds with dreams. Could we envision, instead of having to travel so many miles, a sports center here with our kids playing on teams? The towers went up. We were told they were affordable housing. They cast a gloom over the streets that their residents crowded. The community center was built. We were told it would be a social setting, yet it was a stodgy and sterile building that left us more divided. We winced at the noise and stink of endless traffic. We went to the new restaurants and were crestfallen by the lack of ethnic food. We looked around with nostalgia. The loss of our old buildings seemed tragic, and we wished the developers had never come to our neighborhood.
Hurry up, Michael says to John. We don't want to get caught. John looks at Michael and rolls his eyes. There's no one around. Relax. But Michael is not happy. He's nervous and keeps looking around, making sure no one has followed them. He's still surprised they're even doing this, being in a rebellion. Why did I say yes? I am not cut out for this, Michael thinks. Well, they try and find the entrance. Pop Express sent such an encrypted message that it took him and John 2 days to figure out where they had to be. In a freaking forest, Michael had screamed when he saw the location. At night? Who do they think we are? Owls? John had to calm him down and say it was all going to be fine. Of course, he understood that it had to be somewhere secluded and that it was not going to be easy to find, but he couldn't deal with the fact that they could get caught and that it was in the middle of Richmond Park. Pop Express is an important paper. When the intruders find out who is dealing with this paper, it is going to be bad. Not only for the city, but also for the people who work on the paper. I found it, John says. Shh, Michael hisses, looking around to make sure no one is there. Jesus, relax, there's no one there. Like I said before, he isn't happy with John. He is loud, careless, and he knows he stole something before coming here.
London Bridge today. And over there it stood, the gateway to London, the nexus between the north and south, pilgrim and odyssey, moral and immoral. And to this day, there's never been another quite like it. I used to think of London Bridge as merely a place of convenience. It was perfectly centred between the two ends of London, meaning Southwark could easily meet the city by allowing pedestrians and traffic alike to cross over the river to get from A to B. It was also a good place to meet Alina, my best friend from the north of the capital, as I'd come up from the south and we crossed paths in the middle. In short, I used to think of London Bridge as a halfway point. It was central London to me, nothing more, nothing less. On the day that saw the United Kingdom leave the European Union, however, I never thought of London Bridge in the same way again. That afternoon I sat by a cast iron statue on the south side of London Bridge, as I often did, waiting for ridiculously late Alina. I called her up begrudgingly, unamused as I was left to my own devices on a chaotic weekend which brought out both protesters and so-called patriots in equilibrium. Sorry, just passing Monument, Alina texted me as I watched both We Demand a Second Referendum and We've Got Our Country Back signs float past me, the owners of such bearing only passion for cause as common trait. As the ancients stood against the moderns, where Becket stood against King Henry II, as Napole stood against Thoreau, and as Harry stood against Voldemort, the Remainers stood against the Brexiteers.
Perhaps you scramble fighter jets to break the hearts of clouds, to drench your parched beloved in rain? Or do you scream battle cries over the Paradise and imagine she flows just for you, like the people who out of the city flow because of you? I don't understand how it is you think love is engendered by oppression. You think you can make your cold, twisted love to the city with war. Love is not cultivated with violence. Love is not forced silence. They will not lie down. You took him from me. I will not lie down. You took them from us. We will not lie down.
This does not surprise me. The fuse had been lit for a while now, and we, held hostage by this sickening feeling of soon being bombed out, can do nothing but panic. Ah, yes, the terror, freezing, icy tingling of insects as they invade your skin. No, this is not a job for pest control, just a side effect of being always on your own, of questioning your sanity. Cast off into the wild unknown, flotsam and jetsam of the coming tide, in the great economic tuning of all time, don't search for a North Star, nor a moral compass. You're now Crusoe, the situation, hopeless. To think how we are all corrupted, the grime and slime of it, and your survival instincts are dog-eat-dog, and 1 + 1 will always equal 0 sum. This city doesn't need us. It's got people more evolved, pure souls to compensate for our measly offerings, real human characters, talented, rare finds. We are just 2 out of 7 billion the earth can afford to do without. So let the bomb explode, let the explosion hold. I know a poem doesn't save the world, but let it nonetheless record how in this cold and heartless city, blood runs warm and cries are piercing.
There is a light above my head, and I'm in a cold, hard bed, but no, this is a table. I struggle to remember anything, really. I might be dead or dying because I was in a proper bed before. I can't remember whether I am meant to go toward or away from the light. I remain still and still, and still as a compromise. I move my arm, tentatively reaching out, a pull and pain and pulse of blood. I guess I can't be quite dead yet. Then a mask leans over the light. Go back to sleep, it says, and closing my eyes, the light recedes. You aren't supposed to move away from it.
London, the sprawling metropolis that we have grown up seeing on our television screens, has always held a certain fascination in our minds. From the elegant Big Ben to the majestic Buckingham Palace, the city skyline always seemed to represent a world of endless possibilities. In hindsight, this idealization of London was somewhat misplaced. Since arriving in the city, it seemed its inhabitants were even more miserable than the rest of us. A year after leaving our homes, we see that London is in fact an illusion. It represents a contrast to whatever place we have previously lived in. Its personality and symbolism alternate and shift like a chameleon according to the needs of the person envisioning it. London can be the glamorous alternative to the dull monotony of a village, or the grey, polluted shithole that makes the said village look resplendent.